Hello everyone, welcome to Coding with Ivan. Welcome to the sixth part or the final part of this Android food recipe app tutorial. So at first let's look the app that we made throughout this playlist. So if we open that app, it will load some random recipes here. As you can see, we can see the total amount of servings, total likes and total time to make that recipe here. Okay, we can also search for a specific recipe if we want. We can also do a sorting with the dish types. So if I click on, let's say, soup, then it will load us all the soup items that we can make. So if I click on any one of them, let's click on this one. So that will take us to a new activity where we'll get the recipe name, the source of that recipe, the image, the details of that recipe with some similar type of recipes like this, and the ingredients. So in this video, we're going to mainly add a new recycler view here that will show us a step-by-step process of making that recipe. So let's get started. But before that, if I show you my app that I've already made, the quick meal, it's already on Play Store. So from here, let's select any recipe. Let's select this one. And here, as you can see, we have these instructions here. And we're going to mainly create this feature in this video. So here, have a look on this part. These 1, 2, 3, 4, all of these are single instructions, and these are a list, and we're showing this in a recycler view. But here, these equipments and the ingredients, these are also a list item that I'm showing in a recycler view, a horizontal recycler view. So here we need to create two recycler views, and the first recycler view will be for these instructions, and inside that recycler view we need to create two more recycler views that will contain the equipments and the ingredients. So it sounds a bit complicated, but we'll do that. So let's get started. So at first we need to implement or integrate the API for the instructions. So for this, if we go into the API documentation of Spunacular API, and here we have all the API endpoints. So from here we will use this get analyzed recipe instructions, this one. So we'll click on that, and here we got the endpoint of our API. So from here we need to copy the endpoint. So I'll copy this part, copy, go back to Android Studio, and here we'll go into the request manager class. We'll go all the way down, and here we'll create a new interface for the instructions. So here I'll go to a new line and create a new interface, private interface. We'll name this as call instructions. Okay, and inside here we'll create a new get method, because our API calling method is get. So I'll create a new get method, and here for the endpoint, oops, it will be inside the parameter of get, and here I'll paste the endpoint that we just copied from the official documentation of Spunacular, and here we'll create a new call method. So our call method will be for a list of instructions. So we need to create the model class for the instructions response first. So if we go to the documentation again, here as you can see we got a example request and response. So here at first I'll copy all the body of that response, or the response body. We'll copy the full response body, and I'll copy this and go to the JSON to Java converter website that I used earlier. Okay, so here make sure you select this JSON to Java, and here we'll paste that JSON response that we copied, and we'll click on convert. So that will convert our JSON response to a Java class, and from here we'll just copy these two variables of this root class. So I'll copy them, go back to Android Studio, and here inside the models I'll create a new model class. So new Java class, I'll call this as instructions response. Hit enter, and here inside this class instructions response I'll paste those objects and hit enter. and here as you can see it's showing no error. But if we go inside this step, so here we got all the steps that we need. As you can see, inside these steps we have a list of equipment, ingredient, number, step and length, and we have them all inside this step class. So here it is. Here is our instructions response model. So if we go back to our request manager, inside this calls parameter, we'll make this call for the instructions response. Okay, and we'll call this method as call instructions. Okay, and here in the parameter we need to pass the id. As you can see, the id is embedded with the URL, so that will be a path. So I'll write a path variable and I'll replace this with this id. Make sure you use the same spelling. So id, and for the variable here we'll pass an integer id. Okay, and then we need to also pass the API key with this endpoint. So we'll write this as a query, and here for the API key, let's just copy this line from above. We'll copy this and paste it right here. Okay, and here after this bracket we need to put a semicolon. So that's the interface for call instructions. Now we need to create a method to call this endpoint. So here we'll go above, after this get similar recipes, and we'll create a new method like this. So I'll write a public void get instructions. Okay, and here for the parameter we need to pass a listener. So let's create the listener first inside this listeners folder. So I'll right click on it, create a new Java class. I'll call this as instructions listener, and that will be an interface. So inside here we'll create a new method. Let me zoom in first. So the method will be void did fetch, and inside the parameter of this we'll pass the instructions response. I'll call this as response, and then we'll also pass a string that will be the message of that API. And the second method is did error, and that will only return the error message. So I'll pass a string called message. Okay, so that's our instruction listener. And inside the request manager, okay, let me zoom in first. So here inside the parameter of get instructions we'll pass the instructions listener. I'll call this as listener, and then we'll also need the ID of that recipe. So I'll also require an integer ID, and then we'll go inside the method's body, and here we'll create an instance of this call instructions. So here I'll write call instructions. I'll name this as call instructions equals retrofit dot create call instructions dot class. Put a semicolon at the end, and here we'll create a new call object. So I'll write a new call object for the instructions response. I'll name this as call equals, we'll get this call instructions object dot call instructions, and here for the parameter we need to pass the API key and the ID. We need to pass the ID first. As you can see, it's defined here. First the ID, then the API key. So I'll go up here and I'll pass the ID from the parameter, as you can see here, and then for the API key I'll get that from the string folder. So I'll write context dot get string r dot string dot API key. Okay, put a semicolon at the end, and then we'll enqueue our call. So I'll write call dot enqueue, and we need to pass a new callback. So I'll create a new callback here, and here as you can see we have this on response and on failure method. So at first we'll go into the on response, and here at first we'll check for if the response is not successful. So I'll write if not response dot is successful. So if the response is not successful, then we'll only call the listener dot did error and we'll pass the message. So for the message we'll write response dot message. Okay, and then we'll return from this block. And if the response is successful, in that case we will go after this if condition and we will call listener dot did fetch and we'll pass the response body, and then for the message I'll write response.message. okay, and inside the on failure we'll just call our listener dot did error and we'll pass the message from this throwable object which is called t. So I'll write t dot get message. okay, so our method for the get instructions is now ready. We can now call this from the recipe details activity to show that. So now let's design the UI first. So for the UI, at first we'll go inside this activity underscore recipe underscore details dot xml, and here we'll go all the way down after this summary, and here we will create a new recycler view. For the width I'll pass match parent, for the height I'll pass wrap content here. Let's close this recycler view. I'll give this recycler view an ID here. I'll call this as recycler underscore meal underscore instructions. okay, and let's give this recycler view a margin of 8 dp. So margin of 8 dp. all right, so here as you can see, the summary text view appears to be quite larger in our application. So you can use an expandable text view, but in this example I'm not going to add that. I'll just limit this text view's length to a max number of 5 lines. So I'll write max lines to 5 here. So now we need to initialize this recycler view inside our recipe details activity. So I'll copy the ID of this recycler view and then go to recipe details activity.java, and here I'll go all the way up, and here right after this recycler views I'll paste the ID, and then we'll initialize it inside the find views method. So go into this find views method, and here right after this recycler meal similar, I'll call our recycler meal instructions equals find view by ID, find view by ID, and I'll write r dot id dot our recycler meal instructions. okay, so now we need to create an adapter class for our recycler view, the recycler meal instructions. So let's create that. So for this I'll go inside this adapters, I'll right click on it and create a new Java class. I'll call this as instructions adapter. okay, and hit enter, and here we got our instructions adapter. But before starting we need to create the UI for our instructions at first. So for this I'll go inside this layouts folder and create a new layout resource file. I'll call this as list underscore instructions. okay, and hit enter and go to this split view, and here for the views of this recycler view, at first let me delete this parent layout and I'll change it to a card view. okay, for the height I'll change it to wrap content here. The width will be match parent. Let's add some more attributes to this card view. I'll set its card background color to color white, and then the card elevation to 8 dp, and I'll also give this overall margin of 8 dp. alright, so now for the views inside that, if I go into this response class of instructions, this instructions response, as you can see here, at first we have a list of steps and the name of that instruction step. okay, so we'll show this name inside a text view, and for this list we'll create a recycler view. okay, so let's go to this list instructions.xml, and here at first inside this card view I'll create a new linear layout. I'll set its width to match parent, height to wrap content here. I'll close this tag, and here I'll define its orientation to vertical, and then inside this linear layout I'll create a new text view, and for the width I'll pass match parent, for the height I'll pass wrap content here. Let's close this tag, I'll give this text view an ID also. I'll call this as text view underscore instruction underscore name. Okay, let's set a dummy text here. I'll write this as instruction. Okay, all right, and then let's change the text color of this to color, let's say orange here. Okay, let's change the text alignment to be center this time, and for the text size, text style, I'll keep this as bold, and for the text size I'll pass 18 sp. Okay, and let's give this a padding of 8 dp. So that's it for the text view. Let me minimize this so that I can zoom in more. Okay, so now I'll go under this text view and create a new recycler view where we'll show our list of steps. So for the width, I'll pass here match parent. For the height, I'll pass here wrap content. Let's close this recycler view tag, and I'll give this recycler view an ID. I'll call this as recycler underscore instruction underscore steps. Okay, and let's give this a margin of 4 dp this time. Okay, so that's it, our list instructions.xml. Now let's go to the adapter that we created, which is called instructions adapter. And here right after this instructions adapter class, I'll create a new view holder class. So class instructions view holder. Okay, and here I'll make this class extends the recycler view dot view holder class, and I'll create constructor matching super, and here I'll define some variables. Okay, so inside this list instructions we have this text view and the recycler view only. So I'll create a new text view. I'll call this with the ID. So I'll copy this ID and paste it here, and then after this I'll create a new recycler view object, and I'll copy the ID of this recycler view and I'll paste it right here. Okay, and then we'll initialize them inside this constructor. So I'll copy the ID, and here I'll paste it equals item view dot find view by ID r dot id dot instruction name. If it shows an error, click on this R and hit alt enter. That will import the class and solve the error. Let's put a semicolon at the end, and similarly let's copy the recycler views ID and paste it here, also here. Okay, so our view holder class is now ready. Now let's go to the instructions adapter, and I'll also make this extends the default adapter class of recycler view. So I'll write recycler view dot adapter, and here in the angle bracket we need to pass the view holder class. So I'll copy the name of this instruction view holder and paste it right here, and we'll import the methods. Select all of these three and click on OK. Here we got these methods. So here at first we'll create some objects, like we'll create a new context object. I'll call this context, and then we need a list of instructions. Okay guys, so here we made a mistake. The response, if we see inside the Spoonagular API, as you can see, the response was a list. Okay, but we defined this as an object, so that's a quite simple mistake. So I'll just correct this from this request manager, and here I'll go all the way down, and here instead of calling this instructions response, I'll call the list of instructions response. Sorry for this mistake guys. So I'll just add the list before this instructions response. Okay, so we need to also edit this inside the method also. So here instead of instructions response, I'll call a list of instructions response. Okay, we'll also change it. Okay, let me copy this from here, and I'll go here, inside the callback I'll paste it, inside the call I'll paste it, inside the response I'll paste it. Okay, and we'll go all the way down, and here inside the on failure I'll paste it. Okay, and here as you can see it's showing an error on the did fetch. That is because we need to make changes inside this instructions listener. So here instead of returning this instructions response, we'll return the list of instructions response. Okay, so as you can see our errors are now gone. Okay, again sorry guys for this mistake. So I'll go again to this instructions adapter, and here we'll call a list of instructions response. Okay, and I'll call this as a list, put a semicolon, and then after this we need to create a constructor. So I'll right click here, click on generate, click on constructor, select this both and hit OK. Here we got our constructor. Now we can work on these methods on create view holder. So here at first I'll change this null to a new instructions view holder. I'll pass the layout inflator dot from, I'll pass the context dot inflate r dot layout dot list underscore instructions that we created right here, and the second parameter of this is the parent, and third parameter is false. Okay, so that's it, that's our on create view holder. Now go inside this on bind view holder. So here at first we'll show the steps name inside the text view, this text view. So I'll call the holder dot text view instruction name dot set text, and here we'll pass the list dot get from position dot name. Okay, and here after this let's change this get item count. Instead of returning 0, we'll return the list dot size. Okay, so now we need to work on this recycler view that will show the instructions steps. So let's do another thing. For this recycler view we need to create a separate layout and a separate adapter class. So at first let me do one thing. I'll write holder dot recycler view instruction steps dot set has fixed size to true, and I'll also add a layout manager. Okay, but before that let me create the layout for that. So I'll go under this layout folder, and inside this layout folder I'll create a new layout resource file. I'll call this as list underscore instructions underscore steps. Okay, and hit enter. Go to split view, and here we'll make some changes, but before that let me show you what are the objects that we need. So if we go into this where this instructions response, and here as you can see we have this list of steps. We'll show that inside this recycler view. So inside the single step we have got a number, the name of that step, then two lists, one of them is for the ingredients and other one is for the equipments, and then we have some length variables. Okay, we'll skip that in this video. We'll only use these 4 objects. So we need to create a text view that will show the number of that step and the name of that step, and then we'll create 2 recycler views here. One will show the ingredients and other will show the equipments. Okay, so let's go to this list instructions steps.xml, and here I'll change the parent layout to a card view, and for the height I'll change it to wrap content. Let's add some more attributes like card background color to color white, card elevation to 8 dp, and a margin of 4 dp. And then inside this card view I'll create a new linear layout. I'll set its width to match parent, height to wrap content. Here I'll close this linear layout and I'll change its orientation to vertical, and inside this linear layout I'll show a text view that will show the step number and the step name. Okay, but let's do one thing. Let's create 2 separate text views for showing the number and the title. So for this I'll create another linear layout inside, and for the width I'll pass match parent, for the height I'll pass wrap content here. Let's close this linear layout, and here for the orientation of this I'll pass horizontal, and inside here I'll create a new text view. I'll set its width to wrap content, height to wrap content. Let's close this text view tag, and I'll give this text view an ID. I'll call this as text view underscore instructions underscore step underscore number. Okay, and then I'll set a dummy text here, let's say 1, and then for the text style I'll pass here bold, and then for the text size let's pass 16 sp, and then for the text alignment let's pass it to center, and then for the text color I'll pass the color orange, and then let's give this a padding of 8 dp. Okay, so here we got the step number. Let's increase the text size to 18 sp. Okay, looks nice. Now we'll go under this text view, and here I'll paste the above text view with just some simple changes. So I'll paste it under this, and here I'll change its ID to from step number to step title. Okay, and here for the text I'll pass, let's say, step name. For the text style I'll keep it as bold, text size 18 sp, and then for the width I'll pass here match parent. Okay, and for the text alignment I'll attach it to text start. Okay, and for the text color I'll change it to, let's say, black. And then we'll go right after this linear layout. Okay, and here we'll create a new linear layout where for the width I'll pass match parent, for the height I'll pass here wrap content. Let's close this tag, and I'll set its orientation to vertical here, and inside this linear layout I'll create a new text view where I'll set the width of this as match parent and height as wrap content here. Close this tag. I'll give this text view an ID. I'll call this as okay, let's not give this an ID, that will be for a dummy text. So I'll just write the text as equipments, that will show the equipments for this step. And let's change the text color to color orange here, and let's change the text alignment to be text start, then the text size to 18 sp, then the text style to be here bold, then let's give this a padding of 8 dp. Okay, now under this text view we'll create a new recycler view. Okay, and for the width I'll pass match parent, for the height I'll pass here wrap content. I'll close this tag, and for the ID of this recycler view I'll pass recycler underscore instructions underscore let's say equipments. Okay, and let's give this a margin of 4 dp. All right, so that's our recycler view. So similarly for the ingredients I'll just copy this linear layout once again. I'll copy this and paste it under this, and here I'll change the text from equipments to ingredients. Okay, and for the recycler views ID I'll change it to recycler instructions ingredients. Okay, so that's our layout, which is list instructions steps. Now let's go to the adapter class of our instructions. So instructions adapter, and here we'll create a new adapter class for our recycler instruction steps. So let's create that. Let me close the other tabs here, and here I'll right click on the adapter and create a new Java class. I'll call this as instruction step adapter. Okay, hit enter, and here at first I'll create a view holder class. So I'll write class instruction step view holder. Okay, and I'll make this extends the recycler view dot view holder. I'll just create constructor, and here we'll make some objects from that view. So our view was list instruction steps. So from here at first I'll copy the ID of that step number. So I'll copy this and I'll put it under a text view object, and we have another text view which is called instruction step title. I'll also paste it here, close it semicolon, and then we have two recycler views. So the first recycler view is for the equipment, so I'll copy its ID and paste it here, and the second one is for the instructions ingredients. So I'll copy this and paste it here, close that, and then we need to initialize them. So I'll copy its ID equals item view dot find view by ID r dot id dot instruction number, error, hit alt enter, or click on this bulb and click on import class. Okay, so similarly I'll add these three also. Okay, so here I have initialized all these four objects. Okay, so now we can work on this instructions adapter class. So I'll make this class extends the default adapter class of recycler view, and for the parameter of adapter I'll pass this view holder class, and I'll implement these methods. So inside here I'll create a few objects. At first I'll create a object for the context which will call as context, and then I'll create a list of step. Okay, and we'll call this as the list. Okay, and then we'll create a constructor. So I'll right click here, click on generate, click on constructor, select this two and hit enter. So here we got the instructions step adapter, and here inside this on create view holder I'll return a new instruction step view holder, layout inflator dot from context dot inflate r dot layout dot list underscore instruction steps parent false. Okay, and then inside the get item count I'll change the 0 to list dot size. Okay, and then inside the on bind view holder at first I'll call the holder dot text view instruction step number dot set text list dot get from position dot number, and after that I'll call holder dot text view instruction step title dot set text list dot get from position dot step. Okay, and here inside this list number, as you can see from our API, this step number is an integer. So if we write this like this, then it will end up with an error. So for this I'll just cast this into a string, so make sure you change that also. So to cast this I'll write string dot value of, and here I'll just copy this object and I'll paste it inside the parameter of value. Okay, so that won't show any error now. So now we have added the number and the title. So now we need to just show the ingredients and the equipments inside these recycler views. So for these recycler views we also need to create another custom layout and custom adapter. So let's create the layout first. So at first let me tell you that as we are going to show the ingredients and the equipments, and both of them have the same objects inside, so we'll just create only one layout for that. So I'll create a new layout resource file. I'll call this as list underscore instructions underscore step underscore items. Okay, and hit enter. Go to split view, and here I'll change its parent layout to a card view. I'll set its width to match parent, height to wrap content. Here I'll add the card background color to color white, the card elevation to 8 dp, then the let's put this a margin of 4 dp. Okay, and then inside this card view I'll create a new linear layout where I'll set its width to let's show this as a horizontal recycler view. So for this I'll change its width to wrap content here, so make sure you change that also, the width wrap content, height wrap content. And here inside this linear layout I'll set its width to match parent and the height here to wrap content. Okay, let's close this linear layout. I'll change its orientation to vertical, and inside this linear layout at first I'll create a new image view, okay, where I'll show the width as, let's say, 100 dp. Okay, and for the height I'll pass here as, let's say, 60 dp. Okay, and I'll close this tag and I'll give this image view an ID. I'll call this as image view underscore instructions underscore step underscore items. Okay, and here for the scale type of this image view I'll change it to center. Okay, and then we'll go right after this image view and I'll create a new text view. Here for the width I'll pass here as match parent, for the height I'll pass wrap content. Let's close this tag, and here for the ID of this text view I'll pass as text view underscore instructions underscore step underscore item. Okay, and then for the text let's set a dummy text as item. Let's change the text style to let's keep this normal, and for the text size I'll change it to 18 sp, and then for the text alignment I'll change it to center. Let's also change the text color to color black here. Okay, let's give this a padding of, let's say, 4 dp here, and we need to also give this text view a horizontal scrolling effect. So for this I'll at first write single line true. Okay, and then I'll write marquee repeat limit to marquee forever. Then I'll write the ellipse size as marquee, and I'll write scroll horizontally to true here. Okay, so make sure you add these 4 attributes to give this a horizontal scrolling effect. We need to also add set selected true inside the adapter. We'll do that later. So this is our layout for the instructions, ingredients, and the equipments. We're going to use the single layout for these 2 items or these 2 recycler views. So now we need to create an adapter class, but we need to create 2 adapter class for the ingredients and the equipments. So I'll go right under these adapters, and here I'll create a new Java class. I'll call this as instructions ingredients adapter. Hit enter. So here we got this instructions ingredients adapter. Remember that we have another ingredients adapter, but we are not going to use that. So here we have this instructions ingredients adapter. So here I'll create a new view holder class. So I'll call this as instruction ingredients view holder. Okay, so I'll make this view holder class extends the default view holder class of recycler view. I'll create the constructor, and here we need to create some view objects. So we'll go inside the list instruction step items, and from here at first we'll copy the image views id. I'll copy this and go to here, and I'll write a text view. Sorry, it was an image view. I'll paste it, and the second one was the text view instruction. So I'll copy this and paste it under a text view object. Okay, so now we'll initialize them inside the constructor equals item view dot find view by id r dot id dot. Okay, so here I'll write alt enter, and it's now solved. Okay, so for the second one I'll again copy the text views id equals item view dot find view by id r dot id dot the text view instruction step item. So now we have initialized them inside the view holder. We'll work on the adapter. So we'll make this adapter extends the recycler view dot adapter, and for the view holder I'll pass this class. I'll copy this and paste it here, and then I'll implement these three methods. So here we need to create some objects. At first I'll create the context, and then I'll create a list of instructions. Sorry, not instructions, ingredient. Okay, let me see the object name first. So let me close the other tabs and open the instructions response. Inside the steps we have this ingredient and equipment. Okay, so here at first we'll pass the ingredient, list of ingredient. I'll call this as list. Okay, and then we'll create a constructor. Right click here, click on generate, click on constructor, select these two, hit enter. So here you got the instructions constructor. Okay, so now for the onCreate view holder I'll return a new instructions ingredients view holder. I'll call the layout inflator dot from context dot inflate r dot layout dot list instruction step items. Second parameter is parent, and third one is false. Okay, and then for the get item count I'll pass the list dot size here, and for the on bind view holder we'll call the holder dot text view instruction step item dot set text list dot get from position dot name. Okay, and to give this a scrolling effect we'll again call the holder dot text view instruction step item dot set selected to true, and then to show the image of that object I'll call Picasso dot get dot load, and for the URL again if we go into the API documentation we'll go all the way down to the guides, and for the show images tab we'll go inside, and here as you can see for the ingredients we have this link. Okay, so I'll copy this until this part. Okay, I'll copy this and I'll go back to Android Studio and paste it here inside a quotation, and again go back to the documentation, and here as you can see after this dash we need to pass the size slash the ID of that image. Okay, or the name of that image. For example, here we have this ingredients dash the size 100 into 100 and then slash the name of that image. So we got this name from the API. So now we need the size, and as you can see for the size we have these choices, the 100 by 100, 250 by 250 and 500 by 500. So I'll go with the smaller one, 100 into 100. I'll copy this and I'll just paste it here right after this dash. Okay, so 100 into 100, and then I'll put a slash here after, because as you can see, after this size we have to put a slash. Okay, and then we'll add the name of that image. So I'll write here plus list dot get from position dot image. Okay, so that's it for our on-bind view holder of instructions ingredients adapter. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Let's add these changes to our instruction step adapter. Okay, so here as you can see we have these two recycler view, one is for the equipments, one for the ingredients. So we have added the ingredients adapter. So I'll call the ingredients adapter first inside the on-bind view holder of this instruction step adapter. So I'll go right after this text view instruction step title, and I'll call the holder dot recycler instruction ingredients dot set has fixed size to true, and then I'll call holder dot recycler instruction ingredients, not equipments, ingredients dot set layout manager, and we'll create a new linear layout manager, and at first parameter we need to pass the context. Okay, and the second parameter we will pass the layout orientation. So I'll write linear layout manager dot horizontal, and the third parameter is false. Okay, and then we need to pass the adapter. So I'll call this instructions ingredients adapter. So I'll write instructions ingredients adapter. I'll call this as instructions ingredients adapter equals new instructions ingredients adapter, and here for the parameter the first one is the context, so we'll pass the context. Then we need a list of this ingredient, so we'll get that from this list of step that we got up here. So I'll go all the way down to this. After the context I'll call the list dot get from position dot ingredients. Okay, put a semicolon at the end, and then we'll attach this adapter to our recycler view ingredients. So I'll call the holder dot recycler view ingredients dot set adapter, and I'll pass this instructions ingredients adapter. So I'll copy this and paste it right here. Okay, so now similarly we'll create another adapter for the equipments. This one was for the ingredients, instructions ingredients adapter. So I'll create one for the equipments but with a shortcut. So here I'll just select this instructions ingredients adapter. I'll copy this with Ctrl C, and then I'll press Ctrl V to paste it here, and I'll change its name from instructions ingredients adapter to instructions equipments adapter, and hit enter. So here we got this instructions equipments adapter, but it's got some error, so let's check that. So as you can see, at first inside the view holder we got the error as instructions ingredients view holder. We need to change this to instruction equipments view holder. Okay, and I'll copy the class name again and paste it inside the constructor. Okay, so our view holders error are now gone, as you can see. So now let's go up. We don't have any error inside the get count, so we'll make some changes here. So at first I'll copy the instructions equipment view holder class name, go up, and I'll paste it inside the instructions ingredient view holder. I'll change this to instruction equipments view holder, and here For the class name, instructions ingredients adapter, I'll change this to instruction equipments adapter. Okay, and again I'll copy the class name from here and I'll paste it for the public constructor also. And then for the instructions ingredients view holder, I'll change this to instruction equipments view holder. So I'll copy this and paste it here. Okay, and here instead of returning new instruction ingredient, I'll again pass this instruction equipment view holder class name. And as you can see, our error for the onCreate view holder is now gone. So now for the onBind view holder, instead of returning this instruction ingredients view holder, we will paste the instruction equipments view holder. Okay, so as you can see, all the errors here are now gone. Okay, so now this is our equipments view holder, but we need to change another thing here. Instead of returning or getting the list of ingredient, we'll change it to list of equipments. So I'll change it to equipment. Okay, and we need to also change this equipment from the constructor also. So here for the list of ingredient, I'll make this list of equipment. Error is now gone here. And here as you can see, for the text view, okay, so everything is as it is, I guess. So let's go to this instruction step adapter where we created the adapter for the recycler ingredients. So here right after that, I'll create another or write some codes for the equipments recycler view. So let holder dot recycler instruction equipments dot set as fixed size to true here, and then I'll call holder dot recycler instruction equipments dot set layout manager, new linear layout manager, context linear layout manager dot horizontal, and then false. Okay, and then I'll call the instructions equipments adapter. I'll call this as instruction equipments adapter equals new instructions equipments adapter. And here at first for the context, I'll pass the context, and then we need a list of equipments. So for this I'll write list dot get from position where we got the step, and from here we'll pass the equipment. So in the previous recycler view adapter, we passed the ingredients, and this one is for the equipment, so I'm passing equipment here. Let's close this, and now we need to attach this adapter to this recycler equipments. So I'll write holder dot recycler equipment dot set adapter, and we'll pass this instruction equipment adapter. Copy this and paste it here. Okay, so that was it. And now if we go back to our instructions adapter that we created at first, so here as you can see, here we only wrote some code for the set as fixed size of this recycler instruction steps. So now I'll write holder dot recycler instruction steps dot set layout manager, new, let's say linear layout manager. For the context, I'll pass context. Then for the orientation, I'll write linear layout manager dot vertical, this one. And then for the reverse layout, I'll pass false. Okay, and then we need to create an adapter for this. So we got the adapter of our instruction steps right here, instruction step adapter. So I'll call the instruction step adapter. I'll call this as step adapter equals new instruction step adapter. For the context, I'll pass here the context, and for the step I'll pass list dot get from position dot steps. Okay, let's close this, and then to attach this adapter to this instruction steps, so let holder dot recycler instruction steps dot set adapter, and I'll pass this step adapter to this parameter. Alright, so our all the adapter viewer and blah blah are now over. I know I have added lots of adapter classes here, as you can see. That might have bored you, but now we are at the ending. So to end this, we'll go this recipe details activity, and here previously we defined this recycler meal instructions. So now we just need to show the data and call the API at first. So let me zoom in here, and here previously we called the get recipe details and get similar recipe. Now we'll add another API, so manager dot get instructions that we created at beginning of this video. So here we need to pass the listener and the ID. So we got the ID here, but for the listener I'll create one right after this. I'll create a new private final instructions listener. I'll call this instructions listener equals new instructions listener. Here at the end we'll put a semicolon after this, and we'll copy this instructions listeners class name or the object name, and we'll go up here right after this manager dot get instructions. I'll paste the listeners object, and for the ID I'll pass this one. Okay, alright, so now let's go inside this instructions listener that we created, and here we'll add data to our recycler view. So I'll write recycler meal instructions dot set has fixed size to true, recycler instructions dot set layout manager new linear layout manager, and here at first for the context I'll write recipe detail activity dot this, and then for the orientation I'll write linear layout manager dot vertical, and third one is false for the reverse layout, and then we'll create an object for the adapter of this list of steps. So we got the steps adapter somewhere here, instructions adapter. Okay, so we got this instructions adapter right here. So I'll go back to the recipe detail activity, and I'll go all the way up and create a instruction adapter. Okay, this one I'll call this as instruction adapter. Go all the way down here, I'll call this instruction adapter equals new instruction adapter, and for the context I'll again pass the recipe detail activity dot this. Then for the list of steps I'll get this from here from the response, so I'll just pass the response and it okay, so these are the two parameters that we need. Add a semicolon, and then we need to attach this adapter to this recycler meal instructions. So the recycler meal instructions dot set adapter, and I'll paste this instructions adapter to here. Okay, so I guess our app should work now. So let's run our app on our device and see if it works or not. So I'm going to run this. Okay, so here is our app. So let's click on this one. Here we got the details, and here we got the response for the instructions. Okay, so as you can see, we got the instructions, the title, sorry, the number of this instruction, the title, the equipments is showing, the ingredients is also showing, but we are not seeing any image for that. So there might be an issue. Let me quickly check that. So for this we need to go inside our adapter for the instruction equipment and ingredients. So let's first go to the equipments view holder, equipments adapter actually. Okay, so here we made a silly mistake, guys. Okay, so let me close the other tabs here and open the equipment adapter and the ingredients adapter. Okay, so here for the ingredients adapter, as you can see, the URL is right, ingredients underscore the size, but we haven't defined where or in which image view we want to show that. Okay, so for this I'll write at the end to dot into, and I'll write holder dot image view instruction step items. Okay, so that should work now for the ingredients. As you can see, the URL is for the ingredients. So now if I go again to the document, as you can see, for the equipments the URL is different. Here it is called ingredients and here it's equipment. So I'll copy the equipment from here, go back to Android Studio, go back to this equipments adapter, and I'll change the ingredients to equipment that we just copied. And again at the end we need to write the target view, so into holder dot image view instruction step items. Okay, so make sure you add this and change the ingredient to equipment for the equipments adapter. So now let's run our app again and this should work fine. So I'll run it again. Here's our app. So let's select this one. Okay, so here we got the response, as you can see. Okay, it's got only one step here, but as you can see the images are now showing properly inside the ingredients. Let's try another recipe. Let's select this one, and here we have some multiple steps. As you can see, here is the step numbers, the step details, the equipments, image, the ingredients, image here. Okay, so our app is now working properly. So that's how we can make a simple recipe app on Android Studio, and you can explore all of these endpoints and you can add as many features as you want, because there are lots of endpoints here, guys. So you can explore them and play with them, and if you face any error regarding this project you can comment on below, or you can also share your problem on our Facebook group called Coding with Ivan Community. I'll be replying you guys there, and thank you so much for watching.